So I had a question for you about what the Chinese community calls players, because one thing that Thorin and I have been harping on across esports is that we need more nicknames. And like, I love the idea of Perks being the main character because he seems to just have like invincible plot armor. Yes. Some people are like the protagonist, but he's kind of an antagonist sometimes. So I don't think that's, he's kind of a villain at points in time. So I don't think that's as appropriate as the main character. But it does feel like he just wins. Like he does feel.
I would just call, if I had to pick a nickname, I would just call him the Talisman.
That's a good one.
That's why I say, dude, he's like that as a player. If you have this guy in your team, the crazy thing is, it's obvious that he doesn't. It's like the old Doinb. He obviously isn't doing it all literally himself, but the effect he has on the other players is mental. Like somehow players just do shit and have games that they just don't have when he's not there.
I think like the Chinese nicknames for foreign players, most of them are very boring.
Oh, it's not any good ones.
No. I don't care about the foreign players. Like I care about. Tell us some of the cool ones.
What are the best Chinese ones?
Okay, I mean, like, not all of them are like good, but
what's the best one?
For example, like for Flandre, he was known as like, his nickname, at least in Chinese, was like Lucian, because he used to be like Lucian one trick.
That's garbage.
I mean,
better than that. Give us a good one.
Come on, they gotta have some cool ones.
What do they call Xiao Hu?
Oh, I mean, right now he's just like him and Ming is like he's like the father of the orphanage,
Right, yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. That's a good one. That's legit. Father of the orphanage, exactly.
And it's like usually for the foreign players, it's like for example, Perks, they just call him like Emperor Perks or like King Perks.
All right. At least they understand respect, unlike the nephews on Reddit. Yeah, exactly. Emperor Perks. That's even why I even had a joke like that where I called him Emperor Perks. Because there was like a thing where they were just going like basically Perks was saying like Europe did win or whatever. It's like that's just like that scene at the end of the fucking prequels where he's like, I am the Senate. That's what Perks is like. Like he just is EU as well. No one can talk shit to him. I think just is EU, isn't he? Just bow down.
I like how the Chinese fans, it's in spite of like, literally beating Perks in a world finals, are more respectful to Perks than the TSM fans who are like, Sword Art is a better investment.
Yeah, for sure, right? Because I mean, he was the first one to beat like the Korean teams even before.
Yes.
Or I mean, everyone felt that he helped the Chinese teams to win.
Right, there you go. He was a secret double agent, exactly.
Yeah. Exactly. Right. And I remember, like, Baolan was. I mean, I might get flamed for this, but everyone just called him like Princess, Little Princess.
That one makes sense. Yeah, exactly.
For Ning, it's like the king of sneakers, like shoes, king of shoes, because he just like to spend money on shoes.
I thought it was because he's just running it down the whole fucking time. Play like that, exactly.
Yeah.
Dude, it's the way that started so cool. King of sneakers. I'm thinking, right, Morty, what's the metaphor here? Where's he go? And he goes, because he just like to buy sneakers. Like, no. Right, I apologise. We overvalued the skill of the Chinese scene at making nicknames. Apparently, it was all just Koreans in Brood War the whole time. No, there must be some good ones though. Like, what's like a really? Well, let me think. Let me ask you. What do they call Viper?
I think they don't have anything in it.
What the fuck? He's even named after a snake. There's about 1 million angles you can go on that one. Come on. Get on it, China. Get your fucking shit together. What about Tarzan? Does he have a good nickname?
I mean, this is just pretty bad. They just call him like King of the Jungle.
Oh, that's fucking trying. That's some level shit, motherfucker. Oh, what are you doing? What are you doing? He gave you. Making Fion look like the most talented motherfucker in the history of esports right now.
See, most of them are just like very basic, but I think at least in Chinese there's like some like innuendo or some hidden meaning in the names at least.
Because I always thought Korea has had some of the best. Like, dude, even the aforementioned Dade, King of Spring. What a fucking sick nickname that is. By the way, should we just go ahead and say it since we sort of finished talking about FPX? This is what the Dade Award is, nephews. Sit down while I explain. The premise is Dade was one of the best players in the world and a champion, and he went to Worlds, and his team on paper should have been like a semi-finalist, maybe had a chance to even win the tournament as a dark horse, and they didn't even get out of groups, and he absolutely shit the bed. He completely fell apart in every possible context, and it was terrible. So we made this award, the Dade Award, and it's meant to be this. You're supposed to be incredibly hyped as one of the best players in the world or in the game. You could even say relative to your region, but we typically mean the world. And at Worlds itself, you don't just play okay. So, for example, idiots last year like Knight should win the award. No, he just played okay or good. It's that you utterly flail. You flop so hard that it reminds us of Dade. So, as you said, Monty, people were going, what about Nagori? It's like, did you not see where his own team subbed him in the fucking summer and he was having some mad ropey games? It has to be Doinb. People I respect, by the way, it was a legit take, like Peter Dunn had him the number one player in the world.
Legit take.
So it's not like, well, he wasn't the worst in every game. No, that's not the criteria. The point is, if you're the number one player in the world in a group that's supposed to be impossible to fail to get out of, you're supposed to carry. You're supposed to pop off. You're not supposed to pick Rumble.
Yep. You also have to have like kind of failures on your signature picks too. Like yes. Dade completely like ran it in the tiebreaker versus Gambit on Twisted Fate. And by the way, he was probably the best Twisted Fate player in the world in 2014, like the next year. So, this Messiah, maybe, there you could make an argument. Anyway, very good player on many of these picks, and he was completely just sucking. And so when you see mid Rumble, of course you're going to think, wow, that's a Doinb pick. That's a classic right there. Awesome. And super underwhelming performance on his signature picks, and people expected. If you guys watch some of his games, like some of his Orianna performances were incredible this year in LPL, and he was carrying this team and he was making very good mechanical plays. And so the expectation of this guy the storyline was also very good coming in, because nobody thought he was the best mid laner when he won the world championship. Yep. But people thought coming into this tournament that he might be the best mid laner at this tournament. He was certainly in the conversation. And so this is what the Dade Award is, guys. And it doesn't have to be given out every year, because it's rare to see a flop of this capacity. Yes. But it was, was he the worst player on his team? No. He was not the worst player on his team. Was he the worst player relative to his own expectation and performance?
Absolutely.
Yes. Yes, he was.
And it's just nice that a Korean mid laner wins again. Bring it full circle. We're right back. We're right back again. Exactly. There you go.
Like, what was the Chinese community's expectation of Doinb? Did they hold him in this lofty regard that we saw, many of the Western analysts?
I think from what for sure. But I think from what I've seen on like the message boards and the community, is basically the community have been blaming like the import players for like not performing on stage, and I think it's kind of true, right? Like the Korean players who got knocked out, they didn't perform when it mattered, especially on week 2, right? Because I remember like even LNG, like Tarzan was smurfing on week 1, and week 2 he was invisible. And Doinb and Nagori were fine week 1, like okay, I guess. You could say, they carried against C9, but on second week they just disappeared.
By the way, I love what they did there, Monty. I'll give you a quick analogy. If you don't know, right, famously in men's tennis, there was an insane stat where even though tennis, I'm going to guess, was invented in England because of like the history of the game and Wimbledon and stuff, basically no man had won a Grand Slam in tennis since Fred Perry in something mental like the 20s or something insane, right? So it was some absurdly long period of time, and there's all these players came along where they'd be top 10 or they could make the semis of Wimbledon, but they could never win the Grand Slam, right? And then Andy Murray came along and he was making all these finals, but he kept losing, right? So the joke is, and this is real, the newspapers used to literally refer to him when he would lose in the finals, Monty, as Scotland's Andy Murray. But then when he won the Grand Slam, they said the United Kingdom or Great Britain's Andy Murray, because that's what twats the media are, right? Well, the joke here is, all I've heard for the last 3 years is like, Doinb's basically Chinese now. He's getting like, his papers. He's no longer counted as an import by the LPL. He's married and everything. And then the second he loses, they're like, of course, that Korean middling. I'm not really a fan. Like, what the fuck is this? What is this? Dude, he brought you guys worlds. What are you doing? What is this? Even they're doing it. We normally do it to mock them. Like, you carried by Koreans are like, no, we're bloody kept down by Koreans. Like, what is this thing? This is madness. What? Here's my joke. And listen, if anyone Chinese is watching, first of all, just level up your sense of humour. And 2, it's just a joke. It's not a real comment. So, everyone just kept crowbarring that narrative the whole time of like, he won because of the wife buff. Yeah, but here's the problem. That didn't work, did it? So logically, he needs to get married again.
Oof.
Just logically, you're the ones who made it a storyline. I didn't make it real. If magic's real, then use it. I'm just saying. Just say that one gets worn out. The buff wears off after a while, like a real buff. You got to get another one.
He just needs to renew his vows. Maybe he just needs to
Could
have
also do that,
two weddings a year.
Yeah, and also within those vows, when you renew them, just say you won't ever play Rumble again or Galio. I don't want to see those classic picks. I want the new school Doinb, not the old one. Get the old one back.
I know there's a meme in the Chinese community where they say if you win Worlds, or if you win, you're the king. But if you lose, you're also the king. But you're the king of Twitter, because every time teams lose, they're gonna write a long essay on why they lost and apologize.
Yeah, true. Want to see more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.